residents, and welcome to WPS Crosswalks. I'm Danielle Colbeth.
And I'm Erin Robles. WPS Crosswalks is a show about the Wethersfield Public Schools and local events brought to you by the WHS students and BlueEagles Productions. In this episode, we'll recap the past month.
On Wednesday, March 14th, Wethersfield High held a vigil to remember the 17 students killed in Parkland, Florida last month. Students also chose to participate in National Walkout Day to push for gun control legislation. Here's a look into that day.
Today, March 14th, marks 1 month from the tragic shooting of 17 students and staff members at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So we're gathered here today, briefly, out of respect, to commemorate and memorialize the individuals who lost their lives at that time. For those victims and victims of school shootings throughout our country, I'd like for us to have a 17-second moment of silence.
Wethersfield High School students attended the Connecticut Deca Career Development Competition at the AquaTurf in Southington on March 6th. Over 1,100 students from across Connecticut participated and competed in this conference, which serves as a showplace for skills learned by students in marketing education instructional programs. 14 students from Wethersfield received awards and earned the rights to attend the national conference, which will be held in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nationals is a mega version of states. There'll probably be last year was 18,000 students in California. I'm probably anticipating about 16,000 students in Atlanta. So they will be competing with the best of the best from every state.
As much as it is a college builder based on, like, I've done nationals for DECA, it's also fun. It's going with your friends out of school and, like, saying, this is what I've done and I'm being proud of what I've done.
I see a DECA project as a culmination of everything the students have learned from kindergarten to 12th grade. They use all their skills in these projects, what I love, and it's a direct real-life application.
I joined DECA because I want to go into a business career in the future, and in DECA students can simulate like real business situations and it helps to prepare them for the future, so I thought it would be something interesting to take on to help prepare me.
We've been doing well, yeah, we've been doing well.
March is National Youth Art Month. Selections from the WHS Art Department are on display at the Wethersfield Public Library from March 3rd through April 13th, and the National Art Honor Society members exhibit will be on display in the Wethersfield High School Art Gallery during the same time from March 3rd through April 13th. There was a reception on Wednesday, March 28th. Here's the story. Members of the National Art Honor Society created pieces to be showcased here in the school's art gallery.
I like to draw portraits and I like to paint with oil because it's easier to work with. I think it's fun and it makes me happy. I had her like pose and I took pictures. She was my model for this. I just wanted to try something new, so these two are something that I've never done before.
Been Erin Robles here at the Wethersfield Art Gallery.
WHS also honored National Youth Art Month by highlighting some of the best up-and-coming new artists. Here we look into Kahindi Wiley, who has drawn attention recently for his work for Barack Obama.
New York-based painter Kahindi Wiley is best known for his large, vibrant, highly patterned, heroic portraits. Initially, the paintings were based on photographs taken of young men found on the streets of Harlem. As his practice grew, his eyes led him towards an international view including models found in urban landscapes throughout the world. Painted in realistic style, Wiley makes references to old master paintings. The poses and objects in the portraits are based well-known images of powerful figures drawn from the 17th through 19th century Western art. President Obama chose Kehinde Wiley to paint his portrait for the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. The portrait has caused a lot of aesthetic discussion and brought out a lot of opinions. What do you think?
The Keeney Center is holding open gyms on most Saturdays. Kids in grades K through 3 are welcome to come from 10:30 to 12. Grades 4 through 6 from 12:30 to 2, and grades 7 through 8 from 2 to 3:30. All kids and parents are welcome to join. The high school's play, Fiddler on the Roof, debut on March 9th through 11th. Here's a look on some of the preparations and hard work that contributed to the show's success.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the opening night of Fiddler on the Roof.
To our prosperity, to good health and happiness, and most importantly, to life, l'chaim, to life. Here's to the Father I try to be,
Here's to my bride to be.
drink l'chaim, to life, l'chaim.
Wethersfield Academy for the Arts continues to hold their variety of art classes open to all experience levels. Erin and I were able to peek inside one of their classes instructed by Steve Lindbergh to get a taste of one of their fascinating programs.
I teach here at the Academy. Classical drawings is a style from France in the 1800s that's designed to develop what's usually called realism. So the human body, figures, portraits extends into still lives and trying to paint or draw things to look like the things that they are, as opposed to expressionism or something else. So we train for accuracy. So I do my own artwork, and I'm still also a student in many respects, and I teach the stuff that I know and I study stuff that I don't know. I got into working here, a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, moved to Florida. She was the instructor here. She needed somebody to take over for her. We had overlapped in the past with other areas of study, so she asked if I wanted to come in and give it a shot. So I did, and I love the school. It's a lot of fun. Like most people, I loved art as a kid. I think Picasso said that all children are born artists. They have to have it beaten out of them, but as teenagers. So I did a lot as a kid, but I quit when I was about 14 or 15, and didn't actually end up circling back to it until my late 30s. My current sort of push has been about 15 years probably of serious study, and a ways to go still, but I don't know if you ever really finish. You just keep trying to get better.
SDMS also showed their play, Shrek, on March 16th through 18th. Due to technical difficulties, the group had to perform at the WHS Auditorium.
The superintendent of schools gave us an inside look into how he starts off his day at the Board of Ed. Up next is senior Justin Bianchi, joined with Mr. Emmett.
Good morning, Mr. Emmett.
Good morning, Justin. How are you? Good to see you.
How did you start your day this morning?
Well, this morning we had an incident across the street with one of our crossing guards who was injured. So I started my day dealing with that, making sure he was okay. Bobby Hughes Granado and board member Elaine Steinmiller Paradise. In here working today on the employee manual with our Director of Human Resources, Trent Donahue. So, ladies, how are you? There goes Mr. Kazaka. There goes Mr. Donahue. Matt Kazaka, business manager. You're coming back. Okay, good.
They're all leaving. The building is being abandoned.
Mr. Emmett, what show would you like to make a cameo on?
I am a Seinfeld fanatic, so if I could be on an episode of Seinfeld, I'd be thrilled.
What's one song that people would be surprised to know that you own?
I have to say, I'm not that old, but anything from the Beatles. I'm an absolute Beatles fanatic, and when the Beatles channel came out on XM radio, I was absolutely thrilled. Come on in. So I have two daughters. My daughter Caitlin is 23. My daughter Michelle is 19. She's currently a sophomore at Florida Gulf Coast University. And my daughter Caitlin is a graduate student going to Nova Southeastern in Davie, Florida.
Good for them.
So,
and what is one thing that you still have from your childhood?
All right, I'll admit this. I still have my teddy bear. I do bring the teddy bear in on occasion when I'm reading to classrooms. My bear is going to be celebrating his 50th birthday next month. So yeah, he's a little ragged, but we still have him.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
My younger self, I would tell my younger self to stop and take a breath and never lose sight of the fact how fast time goes. I'm quite amazed at how fast time flies.
For sure. And what's the best piece of advice that you've received?
The best piece of advice I've received, I remember once when I got my first layoff notice when I was a teacher back in the early 90s, and my grandfather sent me a poem entitled Don't Quit. I don't know where he got it, I don't know where it came from, I still have it in my office at home. So that would certainly be the piece of advice that I have dealt with. Do not quit. Started off as a special education teacher in Hartford and then became an administrator. So I have some artifacts from days gone by as well. I had the opportunity to serve as a assistant principal at Kennelly School. So when I left and became principal at West Middle, they provided me with this little collage.
Thank you for meeting with me.
You're very welcome.
The spring lecture series started on March 20th, featuring Jason Scappatisci. He gave a lecture about Mark Twain's lesser-known past, dabbling in supernatural, which can be seen in his writings. For always new and interesting speeches, you can join the Wethersfield Historical Society or pay $5 for admissions. For more information, visit wethersfieldhistory.org.
On March 18th, the Connecticut-based band, the Jolly Beggars, performed at the Keeney Center as a part of the 25th Keeney Cultural Series. Here's a look at this thoroughly talented band. Here at the Keeney Center, we saw the Jolly Beggars, which is a Connecticut-based folk band. The Jolly Beggars released their 4th studio album, Against the Wide Sky, that features more of their modern-day folk music focused on storytelling. A variety of instruments such as guitars, mandolins, tin whistles, banjos, basses, and even spoons are used to achieve their success as they continue to build up their following around the East Coast.
Up next is Superintendent Michael Emmett with In the Loop with the Soup, the first of his segments where he will share important information about our Wethersfield school system. This time, Superintendent Emmett, along with Chairperson Bobby Granado, will discuss the school budget.
Good afternoon. This is Superintendent of Schools Michael Emmett with the first edition of In the Loop with the Soup. Joining me today to talk about the operating budget is our Chairwoman of the Wethersfield Board of Education, Bobby Granado.
And I'm here to talk about the budget. Michael has a great grasp of it, and I'm here to tell you some of the details, such as budget workshops, which the Board of Ed worked on 2 before we sent the budget on to the Town Council. So I send it over to Michael so that he can continue to tell you the details of the 2018-2019 school budget.
The focus of the 2018-2019 budget is to make sure that we're providing our students with the best possible services and programs. The operating budget proposed for the Wethersfield Public Schools, voted on and approved unanimously by the Board of Education this past Tuesday, is $59,027,663. This represents a 3.49% increase over the current adjusted operating budget for 2017-2018. It's important to note that this year we faced historic cuts in our educational cost-sharing money. This function was a result of significant reductions in the state funding of ECS. The town of Wethersfield as a whole lost $1.335 million in ECS funding. Of that $1.335 million, Wethersfield Public Schools absorbed $742,000. That held off positions that we had open. We were forced to keep them vacant. But one of the things that it did not affect is it did not affect class size, and it did not affect our commitment to safety and security. Moving forward this year, in this year's budget, our budget shows an increase of $1,991,000. That increase is largely fixed costs, meaning contractual obligations, benefits, and fixed costs such as utilities. Mrs. Granato, at this point in time, can you talk a little bit about the process of how we went through the budget workshops and how that works?
I will. So the board got together for 2 special board workshops in which we sat down with the entire budget and went through it, like you would say, with a fine-tooth comb, and put things into priorities. Our number 1 priority is, and will always be, security. Number 2 was small class sizes. We worked on it for 2 workshops. The public was invited. We're always looking for public input. We look for teachers' input. When that was done, we then Michael presented to the board a motion to pass this budget, which we just did last Tuesday. So now the budget goes on to the town council.
The important piece to understand with this budget is that it is not comprised of a lot of extra costs. Most of these costs are fixed. Our teachers' contract, our administrators' contract, and other contractual obligations, including nurses, secretaries and paras, and custodians, are also included in this budget, as well as contractual obligations for non-certified staff. It's important to understand that that makes up the bulk of our budget. For example, did you know that 63.8% of the Wethersfield operating budget is actually for salaries? Add to that another 14.79% for benefits as well. So there's not much in the way of extra costs for extra programs. One of the things that we've really tried to do this year is to look at the reality of our budget situation. We know full well that the state is not coming forward with additional funding, and we need to continue to do more with less. One of the things that we're looking at here with this particular budget is the ever-rising cost of special education tuition. One of the things that we're working on right now is developing programming in-house, meaning programs that are contained within our elementary schools, so that we do not have to send students out to high-cost placements. That's a win-win. Obviously, it's saving money for the district, as well as keeping our students in town with their typical peers. That's an important component that's in the process of being worked on. One of the other factors that we have to look at here is we have to look at the fact that we are really struggling in terms of getting additional dollars. Right now, as the projected budget looks, it looks like we'll have an additional $600,000 in educational cost-sharing money. This is not looked at as money that is going to be in the bank whatsoever. While we may see additional funding in ECS, the town is certainly going to lose funding in other areas, and we are certainly cognizant of that. So we've really worked hard to think outside of the box. Let me give you another example. This year, we will embark upon our first lacrosse club of the Wethersfield Public Schools. This has been a grassroots effort through work with our parents and our students. This program is happening this spring as the result of true pay-to-play. Sadly, we didn't have money in the budget to be able to support this. We're providing the logistical support in terms of hiring the coaching, developing the schedule, and assisting with the transportation. However, this is really a grassroots effort, and we hope to build this program in the future to full varsity status, which is really impressive. We're looking at both boys and girls club programs at this point in time. So again, it's another way of thinking outside the box and doing more with less.
Right. And we learned last year that the state is not there for us. And as a matter of fact, it was rather dramatic every time they cut us. So moving forward, as Michael said, we are looking for other models of how we can work with our budget. Lacrosse for sports is one model. We're also looking outside the school system for perhaps citizens and corporations and businesses to help with the educating of our children. So there's a lot out there that we're looking for. We do have to thank the town council for this past year for helping us get through a very trying time, because as I've always said, we have a fabulous school system. to start taking it apart because we can't afford pieces of it, will really, it'll just be criminal because we really can't put it back together again.
One of the other important facets to remember with regard to this budget is to look at that reduction of $742,000 in this year's operating budget. One of the things that we've had to do this year is enact a budget freeze, and that has severely restricted the district's ability to purchase supplies and instructional items that staff members need. And it's also important to remember that when we talk about reduction scenarios to get down to a certain number contractually, it's important to understand other things get cut. So let's talk a little bit about what gets cut within the budget. The one thing that we always try and avoid reducing is staffing. We certainly want to have low class sizes, and we want to have as many teachers in front of our students as possible. So those items that tend to get cut within the budget are related to non-staffing positions. It might be technology. It could be operations and maintenance, such as building repairs. It could be something along the lines of extracurricular activities. Those items that are not going to directly impact kids during the course of the day. It is important to understand also, I want to talk a little bit about health insurance. Health insurance has been kind of the wild card. We've been fortunate over the past couple of years here in the Wethersfield Public Schools to see health insurance rates largely flat or rising slightly. At the beginning of this budget process, the projection for our health insurance was an increase of 14%. At this point in time, we are projecting that that increase in the health insurance is going to fall at 6%. We're hopeful that it goes lower than that, but at this point, that's what we're focusing on. That is certainly a big impact upon our budget. In addition to that, looking at the process of moving ahead with other reductions, we look for retirements. Typically what happens when teachers retire, they're retiring at the top step of the salary schedule. When we look to replace those positions, typically speaking, we're replacing those positions with somebody that would start at a lower level. We look to recognize those savings. We were able to recognize solid savings in the 17-18 budget with regard to that. And I think looking forward, it's going to be a difficult situation here. There's no two ways about it. While the board has been united with the unanimous approval of this budget, we are clearly aware of the financial impacts. And if I had my magic wand, I would certainly be providing even more in the way of programs. But we have to work with what we have. And it's also important to know that this is not indicative just of Wethersfield, but this is across the entire state. We have towns that have lost ECS money altogether, and we've had towns that have cut programs altogether. An interesting note, our regional service center, CREC, is seeing significant staffing reductions and is looking at tremendous budget deficit. This is something that's been unheard of recently here in the greater Hartford area. So these are factors that we're going to have to consider, certainly, as we move forward.
And as we move forward, we are not thinking doom and gloom. The board and the administration is always looking forward. And let me give you two examples. Technology. The schools are now one-to-one using Chromebooks. These children's future depends upon their ability to handle technology in their everyday life and in their schoolwork. The other piece that we're moving forward on is a career academy. So right here in the high school, students would be introduced to other careers that they possibly might like to go into that may not be a college route, that could be more of a tech route. And so those things don't cost us money right now. There's just a realignment or a rethinking of how we move forward. So we are a forward-looking system. We're not standing still. The budget is just in our way all the time. It would be nice if the state made it easier. But we do want you to know that the students are being taken care of the best this board and the administration can.
I'd like to talk a little bit also, Bobby, you had mentioned the issue of safety and security. One of the things that we can pride ourselves on after Newtown occurred, we made a significant investment in enhancing safety and security across our schools. From the introduction of our Raptor system for visitor management, adding A-phones with the camera so we could identify visitors prior to them getting in, to design that we've redone here at the high school during the renovation project to make the building more secure. Our director of security, a full complement of security staff both at the high school and the middle school, 2 SROs through the generosity of the town and the Wethersfield Police Department. We're fortunate to have 2 sworn officers, 1 at the high school and 1 at the middle school. It continues to be, obviously over the past month with the Parkland tragedy, it continues to be a very important factor for us in terms of making sure that our students are safe and secure. One of the things that we were able to tap into after Newtown was the grant funding. The state had come forward with competitive school safety grants. Please know that we continue to monitor for availability of grants. That's another factor that we can utilize to raise funds in order to offset some of the cost of upgrades. So security will continue to be first and foremost in this district.
And as I said earlier, the board does have a focus. Number 1 is security, that these children will feel safe and secure learning during the day. The teachers will feel safe and secure teaching during the day. And then number 2 would be class sizes. That may be the harder one always to get to. But class sizes with our very challenging curriculum, these children are almost individualized in their learning. So therefore, you need to have small class sizes. So moving forward, number 1, priority security. Number 2, small class sizes.
Looking at ahead to the budget process, here's where we're at. On Tuesday, this past Tuesday, the Board of Education unanimously approved the 2018-2019 operating budget. By charter, we were to send that budget over to the town on March 15th. That did happen, so the budget now rests at the town. Mrs. Granado and I will go before Town Council to present our board-approved budget. At that point in time, on Monday, April 16th, 2018, that is the town-wide budget hearing that takes place over at the Town Council chambers. That's an opportunity for members of the public to come out and have their voice be heard with regard to the operating budget, both for the school as well as the town and as well as the library. It's important to be involved, and it's important to have your voice be heard with regard to this. We feel this budget is one that puts kids first. We think that it is one that is responsible. And we think that in this difficult economic time, it is one that is really logical in terms of meeting the needs of our kids.
So we are looking for you to support the budget. Please come out. Tell us what you feel is most important in the budget, and tell the town council or any other elected officials how valuable the school system is to the town. Your voices need to be heard.
Just to let members of the public know also, the follow-up with regard to the budget, we will be having a joint meeting with Town Council and the Board of Education on the 18th of April to further discuss the budget and answer any questions that result from the budget hearing. By charter, the Wethersfield Town Council must allocate a budget to the Board of Education no later than May 15th. So by May 15th, we should have an allocation. I say that with the reality that this past year, with the lack of a state budget, we waited well into the school year before we heard from the state in terms of what their operating budget was. We are well aware of the fact that the state may be operating under a deficit currently, and we may have additional cuts coming from the state. So that's another piece that we have to be aware of. But we are moving forward, and again, the focus is first and foremost on our students here in Wethersfield.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael, for explaining the details. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
And tune in again soon for In the Loop with the Soup.
If you or your school has a story that you would like featured in the next episode, please contact us at BlueEagles@wethersfield.me.
Thank you for watching this edition of WPS Crosswalks.